Okay guys, ready to work on these journal pages together? I'm going to set my tablet down so you won't see me while I'm talking, but we'll go through these real quick and you'll have it just perfect. Here we go. Number 1 says divide each rectangle into 2 equal parts. Show 2 different ways. So here we go. On your first rectangle, if you start at the top in the center, draw your line downward. That's close to a straight line. You can use your ruler, so yours looks better than mine. There's one way. Now look at your second one and decide how could you show this with 2 equal parts in a different way. Did you try this? That would be the other way to do it. Just like that. One line down the middle here, one line down the middle here. Now, what do we call that? What is the name for one part? What would you say? There's several ways to say it, and I'll post a chart for you to take a look at as well. You can say it with words. One, half, like this. Or you could write it like this. This is called the numerical fraction, 1/2. Got it? All right, here we go. Number 2, or the next part says write a name for all the parts together. So that means this part and this part. This would be 2 halves. See the change of spelling when we go from half to halves? 2 halves, or your fraction with numbers would be 2/2. So there are 2 parts in all. And the top number tells how many you're referring to. Well, my pen won't make a dot. There we go. Number 2, divide each rectangle into 3 equal parts. Now, this would be a little harder if we were folding this. This is why I didn't do a folding lesson for you. Show 2 different ways. So again, we'll start with the top. We want 3 equal parts. So that means you're going to do 2 lines. To show it a different way, you can turn it this direction. So what would we call one of these parts? How many are there all together? So that's your bottom number, your denominator. Parts in all. What is one part? It is 1/3. Now, what is the name for all the parts? If I said I want to eat all 3 pieces of that cake, it would be 3/3. Or 3/3. Number 3 says pick one rectangle from problem 2. So that's right here. So take one of our rectangles from that problem. How could you show that the parts are equal? What do you think we could do there? Did you say that you could possibly cut out the rectangles into the 3 parts and lay them one on top of the other? Would they be the same? That would be one way you can do it. So you can write a sentence that says something like that. I can cut the rectangle into 3 parts and stack them in a pile. They would be the same size and same shape. Now, our next page is very similar. It says divide this rectangle, this is number 4, into 4 equal parts. So there's several ways we could do that. One of the ways where each part would be exactly the same size and shape would be to cross it here. I think my pen disappeared on me. And cross it right here. Now, what is the name for one part? Just one. So the bottom number of a fraction is how many in all? So we have 4 to make the entire shape. How many do we put on the top? That's your numerator. We'll learn those words a little bit later in your school career. This would be called 1/4. one of the four parts. Write a name for all of the parts together. You can do this. How many parts in the whole thing? 4/4. 4 out of 4 parts. You're doing great. I can tell that you're doing this and keeping up. Number 5 says Ruthie divided this rectangle into 3 parts. She named one of the parts 1/3. Do you agree with Ruthie? So let's look at her drawing. She says I've got 1/3 here, 1/3 here, and 1/3 here. Do all of those parts look like they are divided equally? Could we call those thirds? Did you know the answer to this is no? Even though they are divided into 3 parts, they are not equal sizes. If this was a piece of cake, I bet you would choose this size over this size because those are thirds, but they are not equal. So we cannot call those thirds in this problem. So when you explain this answer, you would want to tell me 2 of the parts, and we won't even call them thirds, we'll call them parts. 2 of the parts are what? Smaller than the other one. So for this reason, we cannot call them thirds. Okay? All right, I'm going to stop on this one, and then we'll move on to our math boxes.